Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Assalamu alaikum. So, I would be remiss without first talking about Imam Vernon Fareed. Today is his birthday, if you all don't know that. I know some of you all, most of you all not on social media, so it is his birthday today. So his family, the community, his masjid, Salam, Norfolk community, everybody that he has affected in positive and great ways have been celebrating him, commemorating him today. So I wanted to at least speak a little bit about that before I gave the presentation. And what I wanted to talk about was how he was instrumental in me being here and where I am today. It began very far away, but I'm going to give you an earlier synopsis. When my father returned to Allah, me and my family received this letter right here. I kept this as pristine as I could, and the card that he gave, and that he wrote to me and to my father, the family of Yahya Lukman Salim, aka John Lewis Campbell. And they said this is for the community of Masjid William Salam. This was before I was officially back in the community. And my father had left the community, went to a different community, but when he returned to Allah, this meant a great deal to me, that despite their differences, we are still believers, we are still brothers and sisters in this faith of Islam. So I kept it from when my father returned to Allah, because it meant that much to me. And I knew that brotherhood is real. We'll have differences, we have differences of opinions, but we are all still believers. That was one reason why I came. There were several others. People asked me, well, my wife told me that I can't do any good in my house, just practicing alone by myself, practicing Islam. So said, you need to go to some community, find somebody to be with. And interestingly enough, another brother of mine who didn't have a community, he was initially with the Salafi community, but was disillusioned with it and tried to find another community for he and his family. And he recommended this community. He said, if my family and I had to go to any other community, this is where we would be. Alhamdulillah, so I came for Jumu'ah. I loved it. It was a great experience. I came back, and one of those times that I came for the Jumu'ah, Imam Vernon Fareed was leading every Jumu'ah that I came to, and he mentioned a bazaar that they were having. And he said vendors are requested to come. I think it was $20 or something like that for the vendors to come to the bazaar. And at that time, I had some books. So I was like, cool, I'll go and do some vending. And when I did that, his family, this community welcomed me with open arms. So this was the first step into the door. And then when they hugged me and greeted me and treated me like their family, that was it. We family now, right? And he treated me that way. Went into the Young Adult Muslim Association at his behest. He asked me to be the treasurer at his behest. I was doing ta'aleems. I was doing one part, he would do the other on these Sundays. I never did any cook bars because I was like, I don't want to do that. That's your field, right? I remember sitting on his porch and I was telling him about the differences that my father and he had. And I told him about that letter. I never showed it to him, but I told him that letter really opened my eyes and opened my heart to this community. I also asked him how he can get cook bars every week. I said, I don't know how you come up with subjects every week. He said, Allah just provides it for me and I get up there and speak. So alhamdulillah, I'm still working on that. That's why I have a computer in front of me. But he was doing it off the head. He had like a couple of notes and then he would just go on teaching. He's a natural teacher, a natural leader. And from what I am learning, I told him before he returned to Allah, I thought he would be of the foremost. One of those people that would be at the height of paradise for all that he has taught and all that people have learned from him. When he returned to Allah, I was very happy that I had told him that because I really believe that is the case. My wife took her shahadatain with him. So every time she prays, everything she does that is Islamic, he is getting a blessing for it. And that's just one person. Of all the people he has taught, the Salat, taught al-Islam, those people, I said, because of that, you have to be of the foremost. You can't be just a regular run-up-and-drill Muslim, because you are not. And in this station as Imam in Masjid William Salam in Norfolk, Virginia, I find out how much he actually did. To this day, I'm still learning about the connections, the affiliations that he had. I met someone from Norfolk State, a professor emeritus. I mention his name whenever I talk to anybody, and it opens doors, it opens people's heart to me almost immediately. They know he and they know his wife, Dr., just in case she's watching this, Dr. Sweet Fareed, right, who is taking me in as her honorary, or as her bonus son. And before he returned to Allah, his son, and he put together this book. And in this book, he gave me a copy of it. And this is dated on April 15th, 2017. It said, "To my other son, Ismail, a young man whom I admire and who has been an inspiration to me with your numerous publications. May you find some benefit in the contents of this book. I wish that I had the means to give it away freely, but unfortunately, this is not the case. Please accept this gift to you, Imam Vernon Fareed. P.S. Each book comes with a CD. You go to vernonfareed.com to order this book." But I thought it touched my heart so much when he called me his other son. And as much as I admire him and inspire him, I thought it was great that he would say the publications that I had inspired him, because he wanted to write books before he returned to Allah. I gave him one of these things called a dragon, where you can talk into the mic and give some notation so the book can be written for you. Unfortunately, as far as I know, I don't think he was able to do that, but he had a wealth of knowledge. We all were privileged to listen to it, to gain knowledge from him, and I was hoping that he would have that knowledge in book form so we can continue on. But we do have the CDs, the DVDs, and all those things, and I got them on YouTube a couple of different times, so alhamdulillah, we'll be able to follow up and listen to it again. And then when he returned to Allah, this is the other reason I have this right here. When he returned to Allah, Dr. Swill was going through his things, and in his office he had this Quran. And she decided to give it to me. Of all the things, she was spreading them out to different people get different things. She, for whatever reason, said, "I'm going to give this Quran to me." And I know some of you heard this story, but I love telling it. She gave it to me. I opened it because I am conditioned to, because my father, whatever book he had, he wrote his name on it, or he wrote inside of it. So I opened the book and I see my father's handwriting. And it says, "To Calvin L. Owens and family." My father's brother's name is Calvin Owens. And I was dumbfounded when they gave it to me. I couldn't believe this was the case. So I said, his last name is Owens, but I don't remember his middle name. I said, this is a coincidence. It must be just somebody named Calvin Owens. So I called my brother, who was named after him. His name is also Calvin. And he knows everybody's name. He knows their middle name, he knows their birthday, he knows everything about them. As soon as I called him, he said, his middle name is Lawrence. I said, you won't believe this. Of all the Qur'ans to give, they gave this Qur'an to me. And what happened is my father donated it to the Islamic Cultural Center, and his brother, well, he gave it to his brother first, and his brother returned to Allah long before him. He had a drug problem, and he died a long time ago, so they gave it back to him, and he gave it to the masjid, and they had it, and the Imam had it for, I don't know how long, however many years. He returned to Allah, and then she decided to give this book to me. My dad's name is not in this book. So she just gave it to me because Allah inspired her to give me this book, which is really my family heirloom. It's really my dad's book. It was supposed to go to his brother and his family. So alhamdulillah that I have this. It's just, I've been saying this forever, especially since coming back from Africa. I realized that Allah is in control. Allah has a plan for me, a plan for us, and each one of us have the same kind of individual story. And how you got to this place where you are right here today, and you and you and you. We all came here by the plan and will of Allah, and you all have your own individual stories from Imam Fareed, from your life experience, period, to how you got right here where you are today. This is not an accident. We don't believe in luck or coincidence. The reason I'm standing here is all because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reason I came in contact with this amazing man was because of this. Allah inspired him to write this and write these things and inspired me so I can be where I am today. So I wanted to leave at least that part before I got into my presentation. So the presentation comes from the Islamic Leadership Training and Development Program. It comes from the conveners of the Imams, which the first convener was Imam IWDM Muhammad. Imam Vernon Fareed. He was the initial head convener, and then he returned to Allah. Now it's Bashir Ali. And they came to a decision about making sure Imam IWDM Muhammad's tafsir, his language, his understanding is continued. His legacy is continued. So that's the reason why they had this leadership training and development program. And one of our tasks in our second year was to do a survey with all of the communities in our association. The first goal, I guess, was to ask whether they're in the association at all. We found that a couple were not in the association. And I wanted to mention that and mention the reason for that. So that's something that we can keep our eyes open for and kind of make sure that we are prepared for so it doesn't happen to this masjid. The other thing that we asked, the primary thing we asked was, how do you view your masjid or Islamic center? The question we asked had three different answers. Either you are surviving, thriving, or dying. Which one do you think your community is doing? And whichever answer they gave, whether it was surviving, thriving, or dying, they would have to answer why. Why do you think that's the case that you are surviving? Or why do you think it's the case that you're thriving? Or why do you think it's the case that you are dying? And then we would ask them any programs that they have going on and any improvements or anything they can do to make sure that their community is thriving. Make sure it is not just surviving, or if it's dying, what can it do to be thriving or surviving? What programs do they have, and what solutions do they think that they could have for us to be all thriving? Then they asked what they saw the viewpoint of the nation was, the entire association. How do they view the entire association? And we also did this by demographics because we wanted to know. We did it by location, different locations, the different states, and then also the different ages, the different age groups. And then we did it by male and female. So I'll be giving you a tidbit of those. I was going to do it. The reason I hooked this up, the reason we're here today is because I want you all to kind of see it. It's really in small print here, but it's much better than me just articulating the points. So the people over here on the right are the people in our class. I think you may know one of them very well. That's Sister Varsity, Nabiha, obviously, and myself. We had different regions, different sections that we asked, and actually Nabiha, I think, did most of this one right here. She did a ton of it. So this is a presentation that they did in Florida in October 20th. I wasn't able to make that because I was in Mali at the time, but they gave me the slides so I can go over them with you. So this is the New England section. As you see, it's Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont. And with each of these slides, they give a verse from the Quran. 66 ayah 6, which says, "O believers, save yourselves and your family from a fire whose fuel is men and stones." So one of the questions that we ask is, how often do you attend the masjid or Islamic center? And it looks really small here, but you can see it there, I believe, right here. Somewhere in the left-hand corner. So we ask that you come there less than one time. And the percentage of the people that were asked from these different states said 17.9% of them come one time or less. 26.6% of them come 4 or more times. And then the large majority, 53.6%, this is small here. Y'all can't see, it's kind of small. 53%, the largest majority come 1 to 3 times. So they probably come for Juma, some of them may come for Talim, but for the most part, more than half of them in this region come 1 to 3 times. So, so the collective takeaways from this section, the strengths is establishing social welfare institutions to respond to the need for spiritual and material assessments or assistance within the community as well as general society. The areas of growth is to establish business, something that we all know, and these things will be a recurring theme. It's 8 of these slides, and some of these things you'll see repeated in the different regions. So we asked them to describe their local masjid or Islamic center. And as you can see here, in this region, 39.3% of the 11 people said it is thriving. The large majority, 60.7%, said it is surviving. And none of them in this area were dying. So they either said thriving or surviving. But over more than half of them said they are just surviving, not thriving. Does your local masjid or Islamic center offer programs or services that impact the larger community? The large percentage of them, 67% of them, said yes. Then there are 32% who's not offering, according to them, their masjid or Islamic center, not offering any programs or services to the larger community, meaning the people outside of the Islamic community. So non-Muslims, are they being affected by your community? 32% said no, 67.9% said yes. And then the gender of the people that were asked, the large majority of the people that responded was males, 78.6%, and only 6 females, so 21.4%. And we asked specifically for females. We also asked for the imams or the leader of the community to have us speak with people that are younger than 30. Hold on, let me ask to see if I can get you close. So we asked specifically for people, we asked specifically for women to respond because we knew most likely men would respond. So we were trying to get the opinion or the understanding that women had as well as people younger than 30. But for some reason, sometimes that still did not work out. And then this shows the region in which the respondents answered. We also had some difficulty with getting people to respond to the surveys, period. Some people don't believe in conveners. Some people who don't believe in returning phone calls. We called several times to some people. Some people we had to come and tell them, we had to tell the convener of the section like this, Imam was not answering the phone, can you please get him to call us or to respond to our calls? It was a lot of challenges we had to actually get these surveys done, to be honest with you. Much more than I anticipated. So you see Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. Connecticut is where the large majority of respondents came. And then you see the ages. I know it's far away from you all, it's kind of small even for me, so I'll just read it out to you. The ages 41 to 60, it was only 10% of the respondents. The overwhelming majority were over 60 years old. So 89% of the people that responded were over 60 years old. And we got no respondents that were the demographic that I told you, 30 or below, which we were shooting for. We asked the imams specifically to have somebody from the community that's that age to respond because we wanted to talk to them. In this area, none of them responded. We got no responses.
Do you know if they had those people in the community?
Some of them do. There's some in Connecticut, and New Haven, they have.
I don't know if they asked a follow-up question. Maybe Nabiha or Varsity could answer that. When I asked, I didn't ask them specifically if they had somebody that age, but I did say, can you have somebody that age respond? To be honest with you, it was very difficult. So whoever answered, we just went with that person. Mm-hmm. We tried to, I was even on a call for our section. I asked them multiple times to help me with the survey. They would not, so I had to get the section imam to help us. The convener to help me get these answers. So by the time that I got a phone call, I was like, well, whoever it is, we're just gonna go with them because
What you said, the majority of the young people in Connecticut.
We didn't have anybody from Connecticut at all in that age group, between 30 and 20.
Oh.
Next one was Northeast, same region that we are connected to. As you see, it'll be Delaware, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia. You see the Quranic verse, "O mankind, indeed we made you nations and tribes so that you may know one another." And we asked them the same questions. How often do you attend your masjid or Islamic center? And this one, occasionally, we got 9%, 4 times or more, we got 20, almost 21%. Less than 1 time, we got 18% basically, 17.9. And 35% of the people came 1 to 3 times, which is 53 or 52%, I'm sorry. So there was 39 actual people that answered. So it's 52%. So more than half of them come at least 1 or 3 times, which is probably Jumu'ah and the Ta'aleem. The key takeaways was communication and collaboration is key. Let me make sure. Yeah, okay. And then autonomy limits collaboration. What they were talking about was we are autonomous. They made every masjid autonomous. The imam in our community, our trustees or directors now make decisions for this masjid. But they said because of that, they found that nobody communicates with anybody else. Because we are autonomous, Imam Deputy Muhammad wanted to make us autonomous, but he also wanted to have us collaborate, have a shura, so we can decide on different things, whether it's one section or the whole Mid-Atlantic region, to communicate on things. But the consensus from our understanding was that the autonomy was taken too far. It's like now you are isolating yourself. It's not just autonomy, now it's isolation that's going on. The takeaway was, again, establishing business. They saw that establishing business was paramount for the growth of the community. Alhamdulillah, we are starting to do so, inshallah, in the near future. They said, what would best describe your local masjid or Islamic center? So on this one, for dying, some living. They have 5% of them dying. They say dying. It's a little bit cut off here. That's probably about 30-something% is thriving or is surviving. And then over the large majority said they are thriving. So 49.7% in this region are thriving. So alhamdulillah, they describe their community as thriving. Does your local masjid or Islamic center offer programs? In this one, they said no, 22% don't offer programs for anybody outside for the larger community. Again, the larger community would be the non-Muslim community, if they're affecting them in any way. 22% said no, 77, almost 78% said yes. So the overwhelming majority are affecting the larger community, not just the Muslim community. And in this instance, again, we had more men that responded than women. 61% males, 38% females. The reoccurring theme was education, community engagement, leadership development, youth engagement, all these things they find that we should have or should be aspiring for, Islamic education, and mutual support, again, helping one another. This shows a breakdown of the cities and where the responses were, and then the age groups. 41 to 60, 21%, over 60, 79, almost 80%. No people younger than 41. No 40 or below responded at all. We got to survey. And again, we asked the convener, the head convener of the sections, and each individual imam. So even when we talked to them, we said we want people this age to call us. So give us the number, we'll call them. This is the Mid-Atlantic, Maryland, North Carolina, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and West Virginia. While I'm thinking about this, I wanted to mention that I told you it was a couple of communities that were not in our association. And the reason that happened is because of one of the questions that I don't see on here. They asked about succession plan. Is anybody, they said, one of the questions we asked was, does anybody there that can give a khutbah if you're not there? Because we're asking mostly imams and leaders of the community. community. So when we say leaders, it's also women, because some women are leaders in the communities. They may not be imams. But one of the questions specifically asked was, if the imam is not there, is there somebody to give the khutbah? And some people said their community is thriving, but they did not have assisted imam.
Oh,
It said their community is thriving, but they didn't have somebody to give talim if they were sick or if they were out. And eventually, we all gonna get sick and die, right? So it would suggest that even though you think it's thriving, it may not be what you think as thriving. So that was one of the questions that was asked on here. So we asked how, again, for this the Mid-Atlantic group, we asked how often you come to the masjid. Occasionally, they said it was 10% of the people. 19% said 4 times or more. I mean, that's a lot of times. That would mean you have maybe a school or daycare or something.
That's in a week.
Say again?
You're talking about in a week?
In a week, yes, sir. Per week, yep. Less than 1 time, it was only 5%. 1 to 3 times, 65.5%. So the large majority of the people come 1 to 3 times, which again speaks to Jumu'ah, Ta'aleem. Communication, again, it's the same thing, autonomy. So these were, again, done by this group right here. Establishing businesses, why it's the same thing, because it was the same group. We kind of did an overview of what the community said so we could have the takeaways and the collective takeaways. No one said that they were dying in this region. They said they were all, 24% were thriving, 76 in our Mid-Atlantic group said they were surviving. No one said they were dying, alhamdulillah. Do they have any outside programs for the larger community? No was for 29%. 70% say yes. So the majority say yes, but there is some room for improvement for those 29% that don't have anything going on for the larger community. And while I'm saying this, think about our community, because we're in this as well, and what we have going on, what we can have going on. I was hopefully, there are some people that want to get the Young Adult Muslim Association established. Pasa, the sister Tia, I know Kareem is interested in getting this involved. I wanted them there. Hopefully they're listening, because this is clearly the area that we need to work on, and doing some outreach to the community. They don't know we're here if we stay in these 4 walls. I told a couple of them about what we used to do in Yama, because we're always talking about what we used to do. We need to be talking about what we're going to do, what we are doing. It was great that we did that in the past, but there's some things that we need to start doing now. And I can't be characterized as young anymore. So I'm just an adult Muslim association. I'm not the Young Adult Muslim Association. So the gender, we got a good percentage of females in this one. That's because Nabia knows a bunch of people. So she made some people answer the phone. And even one email, I won't say who it is, would not respond, but she got his wife to respond. So alhamdulillah, but I said, listen, I tried, I can't get it done. She said, I get this done. And she did. And I just talked to his wife, she'll do it. So for this one, the females was 44%, which is almost half, and then 56% of the males responded to this. And you'll see North Carolina, which has a thriving community, 46% of them were the respondents, 43 was from Maryland area and DC area, and then 10% from Virginia. We did get the demographic that I was asking about, the 21 to 40. We did get some of them. We got 5 of them, so the percentage was 8.6%. The 41 to 60, we got 41%, but half of them were over 60 years old that responded. Yes, sir.
We say North Carolina because, like, I know about maybe 5, 6 different communities in North Carolina.
Right.
You speaking of all those communities?
Yes, I'm going to tell you why. It's because we had some votes in the North Carolina voting blocks. They already knew what their vote was going to be. So they knew their vote would sway whatever the case was, right? Because they have such a great representation. So after that, when I went to the Time to Be Grateful, the man from DC reached out to me and said, we need to have our own little group here too, so we can work together for any votes that we have in the Mid-Atlantic region. Because North Carolina basically got theirs locked. They communicate with one another, you can tell. just from the meetings that they had. So that's something we can work on as well. So the survey notices, what they noticed is most communities are surviving, few are thriving. What they said was COVID impact us greatly. And that was the case. They said a lot of people were online watching the footballs instead of coming to the masjids, and they never came back. So they're comfortable being at home watching it instead of coming to the masjid. They talked about age vulnerability, especially with COVID. I think that was one of the reasons why people stayed at home. We had a couple of gymnastics ourselves within this time, so I could understand people staying home. A strong interfaith collaboration. One of my interviewees said that we have a great interfaith collaboration. We have a great interfaith collaboration, but we don't have an intra-faith collaboration. And that was once I said that to the class, that became a reoccurring theme, that we talk to Jews and Christians, but we don't talk to other Muslims. We don't have any communication with other Muslims, any collaboration with other Muslims. I talked to, I'm going to say it because I don't want to say her name. But I talked to some different people. So what we did, we also talked to people that were like in charge of Muslim Journal, or in charge of the Al-Islam study group. We talked to people that were in charge of groups as well. And some of those people were saying that we need to have more interfaith or intra-faith collaboration. Just because it's another Muslim that's with another affiliation, another association, we can still collaborate with them. We can collaborate with Jews and Christians, we can collaborate with other Muslims. They said autonomy is affecting us negatively. Once again, they said autonomy seems to be turning into isolation. A one-man show. We found, especially in this area, the lack of resident imams or assistant imams for rotation is a problem. And then the survey wonderings is, do masajids reach out or reach across communities to receive or offer assistance? And then a need for full-time schools. Do we have enough youth to support and sustain full-time schools? And these are questions that were not answered by the survey, but questions that we put out to the larger community so they can assess them for themselves, especially in their own Masjid or Islamic community. Now this is the nation, when someone go past this one and come back to it. This is Mid-Atlantic. There's a brother from, I always say Chicago, but he's not from Chicago. It's close to Chicago. He's in Illinois. So he did a great job as well, because he was basically independent on his own, and he did a ton of surveys himself. His name is Antoine Banks. He does a lot of great work for the community. You'll start seeing his name and his face more in the Muslim Journal and all over online, I'm sure, because the brother is great at what he does. He did Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Iowa, Ohio. You see all these different places that he did. It was basically just him in that area. He's also the assistant imam for Imam Bashir Ali. So he has some sway behind him. He has some weight behind him. And so when he calls somebody, he knows Imam Bashir is going to call them if they don't answer. So they were answering the phone for him, I'm sure. So they asked again, in this area, how many times do people come? They say seldom times, 3%, 4 or more times, 9%, less than 1 time, 19%, occasionally 9%, and then the overwhelming majority, or more than half, was 1 to 3 times, at 59, almost 60%. Their takeaways was establishing an independent school system, Muhammad School of America, and Muslim Teaching College. They have all these things going on there. Collective purchasing, conference, and the collective economics. So they have Imam Deputy Muhammad's 9-point plan. They're working it in these areas. In this Mid-Atlantic or the Midwestern group there, they're working it to perfection. The takeaways of growth is establishing programs for young members of the community. Again, youth is always a focus, always a focus. They asked them about dying, thriving, and surviving. 15% said they are dying. And this is the first region that said that some of them are dying. 23% said they are thriving, and 60% said they are surviving. Surviving is not good. Surviving is this close to dying. You know, If they're not thriving, you just surviving. Just think about it. They characterize their community as surviving. After a couple of weeks, if something happens, and that's what happened to those communities. When they say that they are surviving, that means maybe their imam, they got one imam, and no assistant imam, or nobody can give ta'leems, or nobody who really understands the religion except one person. That's what I was talking about, a one-man show. If that person returns to Allah, think about Imam Brother Fareed. None of us thought he was going to return to Allah as soon as he did. I definitely, even when he's on his deathbed, I was like, something's going to happen. He's going to be coming back. Right? And then what happened with Imam Abdullah after that? So we got to have a succession plan. So what happens is, he returned to Allah. This happens in different masajids around the country. He returns to Allah. He has no successor. Just think about our Jummah. There's a section of people from Senegal. There's a section of people that are from Morocco. They know Arabic. They may not know English very well, but they can give a khutbah. So what happens is, they look around, who can give a khutbah? Oh, he can give a khutbah, right? But he's not in our association. Well, if nobody else can give khutbahs, he'll just continue on and on and on. And for a year, for 2 years, and then it's basically their masjid, right? That's what happened, literally what happened. So we would call them and say, you ain't Imam Deputy Muhammad's Association, because they used to be. And they're like, no. And that's what happened. Not because they were voted out or because there was some nefarious thing that was happening. The only person that was eligible or able to give the khutbah was somebody who was not in our association. Yes, sir.
Traveling around going to different masjids, a whole lot of them black young folk. And you see a whole lot of immigrants coming to a lot of them too. And with their young folk.
Certainly.
It's a lot of places I see this going on.
This is not just Al-Islam. This is not just our association. It's Christianity, Judaism. Everybody has this issue with the young people. So this is basically the same at all. I'm just going by the numbers, but it's basically the same reoccurring thing. There are some communities that are thriving, and I think I told you about this. These communities that are thriving. There's a popular imam that's on Facebook. He just said the other day that he thinks his favorite masjid in America is Atlanta Masjid. And I've had some other people tell me, they said, listen, they got it going on. They got the right things happening. They have a school there, and they have a thriving community. And I said myself, and I still think that we should go there on like a field trip, just to go there for Jummah and kind of see what is happening. But then I said this, because I realized this is the case, and that was not coincidence. That didn't happen by happenstance. People pooled their resources together and said, we're going to take it to Atlanta and build this community. So when somebody else comes from out of the community and comes to it, they are impressed by it. And we have to realize it was a concerted effort. So what we have here, this is grassroots happenings. So if we decide to pool together and put as much resources in it, we can do the same thing. We can do more, right? This is all, it has to be a concerted effort to do so. I remember maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we had somebody come in on a workshop, and I think it was Sister Saisha. She was talking about insurance, and she said that when people return to Allah and they are Christian or Jews, they give a portion of their inheritance to their place of worship. That's how they build these large masjids, or that's how they build these large synagogues and churches, or they build businesses from that money. And I had never in my life thought about it or considered that if I want the community to thrive, this is what I would do. I would give a portion of what I have to this masjid. Then we would know that when I'm gone, it still be thriving. So we have to come up with some ideas, some plans like that to make sure this place is thriving. I'm going to see if I can find a little bit of differences in any of these, because they say about the same thing. You see here, there's nobody under 40 to 20 that responded to these questions. Education, community engagement, leadership, all of these things are the same reoccurring themes. The survey noticing many have great levels of trust. This is one thing I did find also, that there are masjids and Islamic centers that are in litigation right now, being sued by the members or by the community. Not a lot, but enough to let you all notice that could happen. You know, there could be issues with somebody and disagreements here. So we have to have our paperwork in order like we were doing. We had the attorney, we had all these things done to make sure that we are doing things by the book, so nobody can come in and take things away, or we have a huge dispute, because that only takes away from the community. You have litigation with a master. One was in New York and one was in Alabama, and it's still going on right now. Walaikum salam.
I was going to say, back to Atlanta, the school, two things. The school is not just for Muslims. I was so impressed that those sisters that's covered up and those brothers that got those kufis on are now Muslim. And I had Isha send me a video, because she has the kids do these presentations, right, for their classwork. And it was a presentation on making wudu.
Right.
And if I show you this baby girl doing this presentation, you would say her mama, her grandma, her great grandma, everybody was Muslim.
Right.
She is not. Let me say this: she does not declare that she's Muslim. But that baby, it's all over her, and just the way that she pronounces her words and the prayers and everything that she makes, wonderful. The other thing I was going to say was, there were kids that was in the school that wasn't making it.
What you mean?
In the school, they wasn't making it.
Oh, they weren't doing well?
They wasn't doing well.
School system.
Majority at the Islamic school, at Muhammad school, majority males. This brother pulled together with a couple other brothers and did a school for them.
Wow.
That would have been like comparable to the bad schools that they have for kids now, send them over there, right? However, they got their community, their courtesies, all of the people that's in the community that has skills, and turned it into a trade school. So these are the boys that was failing out. Right. These were the boys that wasn't doing right, and they're all now doing trades.
Absolutely. So first, like from the first thing you said, that is a great form of doubt. And when we were considering doing a daycare, people reached out to me with non-Muslims who were interested in having their kids at our daycares, because they know we're going to teach them right, we're going to take care of them. It won't be any foolishness. They'll be secure, and they will get some knowledge and understanding of God. Even if it kind of differs from what they believe in, they trust us enough with their kids.
They trust us more in public schools.
They absolutely do, absolutely do. And the other thing is, African American males, some of them do need more attention. And who can give them better attention and better guidance than another African American male? So I think we should take shamelessly from them. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do, learn from other people. So I was so glad that you made it there, because I wanted to go there myself, and I think we still should go there. When I went for Juma, they were there all the way until 11 o'clock at night. I mean, I'm like, that's how it's supposed to be. Like, I'm sure some of them had to go back to work. They went to work and came back. Like, they're out there selling food. They had businesses. They had everything like it should be.
It's like a strip mall.
Right.
Every business in the mall is Muslim. You know, and the kids is flipping through the musalla after prayer and running around, just that they don't want to go home.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's what we're aiming for. You're talking about a solid education model with the Claire Muhammad School. And then the wonders was what happened to the regularity of ta'leems. Why don't we have a succession plan for imams? Why are there more orientation classes for new members within the section? And with community engagement being so high in the region, why the lack of new members? So new shahadas was a question that was asked for this region. So let me see, I'm gonna try to go through some. I won't drag this out because it's the same thing. You see here, different class members I had here. There's a brother, Jahar, Imam Khalil, and another brother, Omar. Omar actually gave a bunch of money for a sponsorship for somebody to go to this Islamic Leadership Training and Development Program. Embarrassed all of us. We were there giving our speeches, congratulations speeches, and he's like, well, instead of doing that, I'm gonna write this check here. I'm like, I can't outdo that. Right? But in this one, you see 74% come 1 to 3 times. The next closest one is 4 or more times, and probably that place would have a school or a daycare or something like that. You see the same reoccurring themes. For this area, let me just tell you which areas this encompasses: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Mississippi, and Tennessee. They have some mass shares that someone described as dying, about 7% of them. So there was 9 people, 9 different massages, they said they classified as dying, 47% as surviving, and 45% thriving. For any programs outside of the masjid, they said no, 17% of the time, 83% they do have some. This again was overwhelmingly men that responded, 71% men, 28% women. They did have some of the younger demographic, but it was only 9%. The overwhelming majority, 74%, was over 60 years old. And then they talked about the states that did the correspondence. Let's see, strong organizations, difference in generational viewpoints. I think this was the one they were talking about. The older community would think was thriving, and then the younger community would think they were surviving or dying. So they were saying they had some differences of opinion on that. The term appointed elected for a shura board, so that did come up as well. People who are conveners. I think the idea was 2 years, but there were some people that were convener for 10 years. They didn't really have a limit on it, so they were saying they wanted some new people, some fresh ideas in conveners. They had the first halal pantry that they were giving out food, and they were giving out this food not just to Muslims but to non-Muslims as well. They were talking about the regularity of Jumu'ah and Ta'leems and strong models for intergenerational collaboration. One thing that we have here, I think, what was mentioned as well, is just the older generation not wanting to give their reins over to the younger generation, not trusting them. That was a complaint that they had. It's a couple of more of my classmates, Tawfiq, Naeem, and Kimberly. She was a valedictorian, Kimberly was. And this reached to Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, North Dakota, Oregon, South Dakota, Washington, Wyoming, and Utah. So we were reaching all over the place for this. 50% again said 1 to 3% of the time, 1 to 3 times a week that they come to the masjid. 30% said 4 or more times. So this one said, do you have any Islamic masjid have any programs outside of the Muslim community? They said 100% yes. All those different states, alhamdulillah, all of them were reaching out to the non-Muslims in their community. They had a good percentage of females in this one. It was 40% females, 60% males. They did have some dying though, but it was only 2 people that said dying. So 20% said dying, 20% said surviving, and 60% said they are thriving. 100% though was over 60 years old. Alright, so when you get some enthusiasm, we realize that the majority of the people are over 60 years old. Realistic concern of takeover of Imam W.D. Muhammad's community. So they say Imam W.D. Muhammad's community, they had questions of someone else coming in and taking over. Concern about the community Islamic education. So giving this education to our youth, increasing education of Imam W.D. Muhammad's knowledge body is also a concern. Organization is focused on mission of dawah, articulating concern for the youth engagement. All these things, again, are reoccurring themes. This is Tawfiq, Naeem, and Kimberly again. They said 45% are surviving, 36% thriving, 18% is dying. This is actually more females in this region, so let me see which one it is. This is Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. So they had more females for this one. So 53% females, 46.9% males. And then they also had some of the correspondents that were under 40 years old to 21. That was only 6%. The majority of them, 65%, was over 60 years old. and they had the same concerns. So I'm gonna go back to, oh, that was the IWDM. So I'm gonna go back to the national. And I found out on Instagram, you can only record for an hour. So I'm gonna stop this and start it again.